Wilsons Courtship by Henry Lawson. I was about the first in our family that got away from the old selection and struck out for myself. I went up country pretty early in life and got on in a quiet way. I had my horses and plant and travelled with a mob of cattle now and again and did a lot of boundary riding and fencing and dam sinking and so on. I think I could have been trusted to drive a mob of cattle from anywhere to anywhere. I didn't come across Mary out there. I first met her in Sydney while I was stopping at her aunt's place in Redfern. Her aunt had married a tradesman who had a big ironmongery and machinery store in the city. Mary came to live with him after her mother died. I was a rough fellow, just as I am now, and I suppose I must have looked and acted like a regular bushie. But she didn't mind that. I used to do what I thought was a lot of talking then, and I was always trying to appear to the best advantage before Mary. But she was very quiet. She said very little. She had big dark eyes and a soft voice. I got very fond of her. She didn't seem to care much about me, or about anyone else for that matter. I thought she was proud and cold and rather distant in her manner. But after a while I began to think that it wasn't so much pride or coldness as a sort of shyness or reserve. I don't know what to call it. I thought about her a good deal, and long afterwards I used to dream about her. After a while she went back to the country again, and I went on west. I didn't think she cared for me, and I didn't write to her. I knocked about the bush for several years. Then I took up a selection near Gulgong and settled down there. One day I went into Gulgong, and who should I run into but Mary? Her father had died, and her mother and the family had come to live near the town. Mary was teaching at a bush school. She remembered me, and we got talking, and after that I saw her pretty often. We used to meet at her mother's place and sometimes at picnics and church socials. It's a curious thing that the bush people never seemed to consider me good enough for Mary. I don't know why. They didn't know much about me, and I was always straight as I could be. I suppose it was because I was a selector and had knocked about in the bush a lot. Mary's own people didn't object to me in any way that I know of. They treated me very kindly and always made me welcome at their place. I always felt a little better and happier when I was near Mary. I don't know whether she cared for me or not. I couldn't make out whether she cared for anybody. I wasn't very brilliant in those days. I'm not now. But I always had an idea that I wasn't the sort of man Mary would fancy. I was too rough, I thought, and too serious. I never went in for much gallivanting or larking about. I think I only really laughed twice while I was courting Mary. I suppose I should have proposed to her if I'd had the courage. I used to get very miserable and jealous at times, and made up my mind more than once to go away and leave the district. Then I'd see her again, and she'd look at me in a quiet sort of way. I never could make out whether it meant anything or not. And I think maybe she did care for me a little, after all. One night we were walking home together from a church social. It was a clear, quiet night, and the stars were out. I felt as if I'd never been able to speak. Presently she said, "Well, Joe?" I stopped. I thought I'd make a mess of it. I felt very miserable all at once. "Mary," I said, "I don't suppose you'll ever care for me, but I love you." She didn't say anything. "You needn't speak unless you like," I said, "but I thought I'd like to tell you." She said quietly, "I'm glad you told me, Joe." "That's all right then," I said. We walked on a little. Then she said, "I thought you'd never tell me."